It had a Kansas fund match support to it. The total the city will get is $5.3 million. No fiscal impact to the community. And it will help the city develop its first comprehensive safety action plan, which is aimed to address roadway fatalities and serious injuries. Just think of those intersections out there where most of our fatalities and we may have serious accidents. This money will help us look at those, design safer intersections, and come up with strategies to help with those issues. It can be used for demonstration activities. We can't make any permanent pavement improvements. And the initial phase will focus on school zone safety improvements following the completion of latest Safe Routes to School plan, and we have a 4-year deadline in it, timeline in it.
Well, that's good news. I think that's one of the largest grants that the city's received for that kind of infrastructure support.
And these are good funds. These are good funds that help around school districts, kind of help. You can do a lot of things on that to help kids get to school safely and get home safely as well.
Well, it's something I was going to touch on later on, but I might as well speak to it now about safety right now during the summer months. It is important for us to all be aware, obviously, that there's going to be more foot traffic and vehicular traffic in the city of Topeka. And a lot of people doing a lot of things, hoping to enjoy the summer and all the activities that come with it. But I've been noting a lot, and I'm asking the public to really, really pay attention to their courtesy on the road to other drivers and pedestrians, to really be more aware of the speed limits in this town, and to really understand that it's your duty to stop at a red light and not rush to it to get through the intersection. I see an awful lot of that, and it's been of a high concern, not just to me, but a lot of citizens that have talked to me and asked me why people are driving that way. I have no answer for that. Obviously, it's just something they're getting used to in this city, and I would like to see us give more consideration to each other by observing the speed limits and stopping at those red lights and not rushing to try to beat the red light. I know that I'll be having a visit with our current chief of police and the interim chief of police to talk about stepping up traffic enforcement for those things, because it's just important for us to keep our city safe. And with so many cars on the street and more pedestrian traffic, bicycles, motorcycles, it's important for us to be aware of those speed limits and our responsibility to drive sensibly.
And to tag on to that, there are a lot of barricades out there. Don't try and run the barricades. Pay attention, go through them slowly. I ran through a gauntlet of barricades coming down here today. You got to pay attention to where you're going so you can get where you're going safely.
And everyone knows that the City Council did vote to select Dr. Robert Perez as our next permanent city manager. Just as an update, if people haven't been reminded, he will be here in Topeka. He's been in and out on occasion, but he will, I think his first day is June 24th.
Yes.
And we're looking forward to him coming into town and getting caught up with everything that's going on in the city. We have a number of people who have stepped forward, including our interim city manager, Richard, to help Robert hit the ground running, as it were, but not overwhelm him at the same time. I'll be doing everything I can to invite Dr. Perez to come out to different events so that people can meet him, because there are a lot of people who want to talk to him, want to visit with him, talk about their concerns, talk about their hopes and visions for the city. And he's going to be here, I hope, for a long time. So there's no rush, but I will try to get him out as much as possible. So if you have an event or something that you are hosting and you would like the city manager to attend, just let his office know and they can start to build his schedule accordingly. So I'm looking forward to him coming permanently June 24th. Also, I think we noted at the last council meeting that the city just completed its Public Works and Utilities Citizens Academy, I think with 25 participants, including a couple of our council members. Congratulated all of them because that's a unique thing to do. A lot of people have questions about how you get water out of the tap. You know, what do you have to do when a water line breaks? How do we figure where we're putting stop signs? All those different kinds of things that are details of each department that really is almost to a degree overwhelming for everyone to understand. So given the opportunity to participate and have this information broken down into detail and bits and parts by the department heads and by the people who actually get the work done, I think it's a real opportunity to really get a better understanding of how the sausage gets made in providing all the utilities and the resources for the city of Topeka. It's the same kind of a thing for both the police department, Citizens Academy, and the fire department's Camp Courage. You learn more detail about these departments than you might ever imagine. So I encourage the public to keep their ears up, listen for the next opportunity for any of these academies. It's free, doesn't cost anything, just takes a little of your time, and I think you'll enjoy it and come away with a different perspective on how the city works and how it works hard to try and provide everything that we take for granted often in the city of Topeka. I'll let the city manager talk to the Battle of the Badges because that way I'm sitting in the law enforcement center. I can't be the one that brings this news.
Well, Battle of the Badges blood drive, that's where the fire department, police department kind of compete giving blood for the American Red Cross. And the mayor just couldn't get this out, but the fire department won by 1 pint of blood, all right? So we're proud of both our fire and police departments. Giving blood is important. You never know when you're going to need it, when your loved one's going to need it. So please, when there are blood drives, if you are able to give it, please go in and give blood. And I might also say that I appointed Deputy Police Chief Jamie Holtum as interim police chief effective June 25th. Now, he will serve until the next chief of police is selected, and that selection process will be done by the new city manager, Perez, after he gets on board, and I would suspect takes a couple of months, several months learning the lay of the land.
The new city manager is going to be tasked with a lot of very important appointments, and the next chief of police is one of them. And looking for a deputy city manager is another. That's something else that will be at the top of his list. And we'll get all that process started, and that's why I said there have been a number of people who have stepped forward to help him manage all of those responsibilities as he comes on board. Speaking of the fire department, I just briefly want to note, I saw a story on the news, and it highlighted what I thought was a very thoughtful action by members of the fire department. They took the time to clean up and clear up memorial location for Zoe Felix, who was murdered in our city of Topeka. You know, we go about our lives, and sometimes the news stories don't stay long with us, but something like that needs to be kept in our hearts, and I appreciate what the fire department did on their own to keep that memory alive about the loss of that young lady. Speaking of which, both were talking about fire and police, call it our Topeka Public Safety Team. They've done something that's, I think, unique and different. Oftentimes we hear about what the police department does with PAL, Police Athletic League, and assisting and helping out there with the Boys and Girls Club, and sometimes that doesn't fit for every youth in the city of Topeka. But this year, both chiefs have combined their resources to come up with scholarships for Topeka Civic Theater. That's a whole different, probably, group of people and youth that like that field of being in plays, putting on plays, just helping with all the building of the materials and the stock that they use to put on the plays. It's an involvement that sometimes not everyone has access to. And so both the fire and police chiefs have combined their resources to put scholarships in place that are open to anyone. There are some details about that scholarship that if you want to look into it, if you go to the website for Topeka Civic Theater summer camps, it's a 3-week camp. There's some age limits, I think, entering from 2nd grade all the way up to the 12th grade. But I think it's worthy to note that both of these public safety teams are thinking differently on how they serve the public, not just providing the basic services of a police department and a fire department. They're trying to help the youth spend their summers in a productive way, in ways that they will enjoy and maybe beforehand never had a chance to participate in because they didn't have the resources. And I think I really want to thank Topeka Civic Theater for what they're doing and partnering with our 2 agencies for doing that. It's looking like a very good program. It makes me happy to see this because I spend, every year I go out to Topeka West High School when they put on their plays, and they're just so proud to show what they've put together as a play, and they're pretty impressive. So I support those arts starting at a very young age and encourage people to look at that website again, Topeka Civic Theater, and look for the opportunity to apply for those scholarships. I've got a couple things here. Maybe I'll ask the city manager to speak a little bit to the homeless initiative that was presented to the city council last Tuesday.
So, as the public knows, we've been working on a homeless initiative for over a year, and that's a group of citizens put together. We've used Sylvan Consulting on this to try and develop some strategies on how we can improve the homeless situation in the city of Topeka. There are 3 top ideas, and one was a one-stop homeless resource center where homeless or advocate or nonprofits for homeless could go to one spot and get information. And we're actually in pretty good shape of that because our social services do have a one-stop center, and that mission kind of folds into that. And our development department helps with that, and they're in contact with all those people. Options of a low barrier shelter and permanent tiny home villages, and which would have to be run by a nonprofit, not the city. The survey was pretty plain about they did not want the city to run these programs, but wanted nonprofits to run those programs. And I think if you look across the United States, you'll find that nonprofits running programs like this were better suited to do it than cities were, and they were more successful. But it was decided that this is a task that they will hand to the new city manager when he gets here and gets his feet on the ground and is able to address the homeless situation, which is not going to go away.
Thank you, Richard. I want to highlight something that came up, was brought to my attention. Dan, I appreciate that. If you were part of a crowd of estimated to be 6,000 people downtown at Evergy Plaza.
I like 60.
That 60 would have been even better, but I don't know where we'd put them all. But at 6,000, they were really packed in to see this boxing matches that we had in Topeka. I mean, it was quite an event. I got to see it from up high to see the crowd and how big it was, and got to be down low. And even got in the ring there for a little while, just to enjoy just the atmosphere there of everybody excited to see such an event in Topeka. Because I don't think, a lot of people think we could pull it off without any issues, but we did. There were no problems at all. A lot of people were down there helping each other out, getting in line, getting food, getting drinks, taking care of each other. We had one little girl, looked like maybe about 5 or 6, as she got separated from her family, and we got her back with their family very quickly with no issues. So everybody was really, really enjoying that time. And I think that's another one of those events that had hoped to happen when they first created the idea or came up with the idea of the Evergy Plaza, having functions down there that everybody could get a part of. And the crowd was so, like I said, it was mixed in ages, ethnicities. Everybody was enjoying themselves. And it was brought to my attention that here recently, we have a standing committee, a transient guest tax committee, standing committee for the city of Topeka, and they take a lot of things into consideration, hotel occupancy and all those kinds of things. And we know recently that it was announced that the museum that we have there at 21st and Topeka for the motorcycle museum is going to be leaving us. So that doesn't stop this group thinking about how do we then use our transient guest tax dollars in a better and maybe more significant way to make sure that we don't lose any ground on the activity levels here in Topeka. And there was a presentation made by Kurt Young to the Transient Guest Tax Committee, talking about options and possibilities of using funds that would have been for the Evel Knievel Museum to maybe consider options of a permanent, or not a permanent, but a larger ice skating rink at Evergy Plaza. Now, we had one previously, and people really seemed to enjoy it. I saw a lot of people out there trying their best to stay upright and having a good time at it. But there was some disappointment that we were not able to have it this year. But the idea and thought that was brought to the Transient Guest Committee by Kurt Young was that some discussion would take place on their board, and they would come up with some options and then bring it back to the committee for consideration. And I think that's good. I think it's good thinking that we're still trying to continue to use that open air space in creative ways and in ways that the public have responded positively towards. Like I said, when they had their ice rink down there, it was fun. I went down there and didn't take a chance on getting on the ice, but I enjoyed watching everyone enjoying themselves. So that's something I just want to bring up, that Transient Guest Tax Committee is doing their job, and the hotel board is doing their job too, trying to how better utilize the monies that we have becoming available with the leaving of the Evel Knievel Museum. So I wanted to bring that up.
So,
Go ahead,
Mayor,
Mayor.
did you ever box in your youth?
Yeah,
Did you?
Boys and Girls Club.
Oh,
Yeah, long, long time ago. Elgin Woody was the guy down there back then, but that's a long time ago. Yeah. But speaking of boxing, I can give accolades to Representative John Alcala. He and I got together shortly after I came on council, and at the request of the Salvation Army, they wanted to see if they could put together a boxing club to help the youth during the off times after school and during summer. And we got down there and had numerous meetings to try and figure out how to bring that about. I had some friends that I knew in Kansas City that worked for Ringside. We brought them in here. Albert Guardado, who was an Olympic boxer, he came into Topeka too to help us organize it. And Representative Alcala took that as his thing, because he's been involved in boxing for some years, and has continued with that. And they started off with the idea that it might be attended maybe a couple nights a week. I think it's every night a week now. And they have tens of boxers down there, and they're good little boxers, and their families get involved too. So I think it's been a good thing to happen. I think that's why maybe there was such a response to the boxing match here in Topeka. We have that history of boxing here in Topeka. One more thing I want to bring up is that my office was contacted by the Consulate of China, who offices out of Chicago, being aware of the trade that China has with the state of Kansas in agriculture primarily. But they have asked for a visit to my office to visit and talk about future opportunities and the relationship that we try to maintain in the state of Kansas. And so we will be hosting them on June 13th here in the city of Topeka. I've gathered a number of different people from different principles of concern so that they can visit with the council. And I think it's a good thing. And I remind people sometimes every now and then you just aren't aware of what comes through that mayor's office. This isn't the first council that has come to Topeka. We've had council from Peru, Sweden, Mexico, and this one now from from China. So Topeka's on their radar too. So I think it's important for us to keep that relationship and keep that open door going. I just want people to know that we're having a good visit from the Council of China and his entourage later on in June. So I wanted to make people aware of that one. And one last thing for me anyway, City Manager, we try to update as much as we can and not getting into into the details of Hotel Topeka, but I was visiting with a few people over the weekend, and I had a couple comments I heard, and one was, what are all those cars doing down there at the hotel? I said, well, there are people staying at the hotel. And they said, well, we thought it was closed. And I said, no, I don't know where that message got put out, but we made it very clear when the city of Topeka entered into this endeavor that we did not want that hotel closed, period. And we've been able to keep it running. We've had some repairs that had to be made, and we're continuing to do those out of necessity, trying to improve that property to make it even more marketable for another owner-operator, because we don't intend to hold on to it. But I want people to understand it is open for business, and there are people booking conferences there on a regular basis. We have the state wrestling championships that will come up that we just love having here in Topeka because of the participation. And the first thing they say is, where can we stay? Can we stay at the hotel? And yes is the answer. We've got a couple other, Knights of Columbus is having a conference coming here. The leadership, Washburn Leadership is having one, and they're all using those facilities. I just want to remind people that hotel is operating. It is open for business.
And we had a state morticians conference there. It's pretty quiet.
Pretty quiet, which I would have expected. But I just want to remind people that when you see activity going on there, it's because we're continuing to promote that hotel on behalf of the city of Topeka to bring in guests, put heads on beds, and increase that transient guest tax that we talked about earlier and how we would use it in different ways. So that's the last thing I had on my list.
So let's follow up and talk about that hotel complex, because here's what you need to remember when you hear about the hotel complex. That hotel was built in 1996. The Expo Center was improved. Manor Center was improved. All this connects together. Expo Center, Manor Center, hotel. And it takes not only the city upgrading that hotel so it can get back in the business of upgrading, but it also is a partnership with the county to get the Manor Conference Center upgraded. I remember a time when we were in there there were 2 or 3 conferences going on at once, between Expo, between Manor, and between Hotel Topeka. So it is vital to the economy. It is vital to the city to make sure that we have a fully functioning complex there.
And to that piece, I'll add that I have visited with each county commissioner and with their council and asked them, and they have agreed to very focused meetings about the collaboration between the city and the county on how that campus will continue to be developed. We're doing as much as we can at the hotel. There are still opportunities for improvement at Manor, Ag Hall, and so it's recognized by both governing bodies that that supports an awful lot of activity in the county and the city. It's important for us to maintain those assets, and they've agreed to meet on a regular basis to have very focused meetings about how we can collaborate even more so in the future. So that's the last I have, and Richard, and if there are any questions you might have, sir.
Are you managing the hotel, or who all is running it, and how many employees do you have there?
We don't manage the
We
hotel.
we don't manage it. We have a management company down there. I believe it's the same one that's always been down there. Listen, the cities don't own hotels, although some of them do. We recognize where our strengths are, so we kept the management company in place while we're working on getting it sold. So I think, I just don't know how many employees are down there. But I do know that the ones who are there are loyal. They want that hotel to be open because that's a livelihood. I talk to Michael a lot down there. Whenever I stay in the hotel, he's down there when I have breakfast. I've gotten to know the employees down there, and they take great pride in their work, and they want that hotel to be successful.
Can you tell us some of the improvements that you're doing to it?
Well, yeah, there's a chiller rehab going on. There are 2 chillers in that hotel. One of them needs to be replaced. I can tell you, it's no fun to be in a hotel in August when the air conditioning's not working. We're putting in a new HVAC actuator, and those work on the cold and hot water supplies, so you make sure that you have both. And we're replacing locks, we're updating the locks. You know how you go into a hotel and you can hold them against the door? That's where we're going with that. We're going to upgrade. Things like that for the traveler that stays there for their convenience.
You gotta spend money to make money. How much are these improvements costing?
Well, the chiller rehab, the locks are gonna be $100,000. Chiller rehab is $217,000. The HVAC is $107,000. So you can total that up. We probably put about $500,000 into it. And my guess is there's probably about another $500,000 worth of bare minimum capital improvements we need. But it's for sale. It'd make a great headquarters for WIBW 13.
And where does all the money come from that you're doing these improvements? I'm sure the community wants to know that.
It comes out of our budget.
So you guys already have this in your budget?
I don't believe there's a specific line item in this year. We're taking it out of a surplus account. Now, if we still have this next year, there will be a hotel line item budget.
The new Walmart fulfillment center that relocated to Topeka, could you guys just kind of speak to that and some of the opportunities that'll bring to the city and people working in the city and things like that?
Well, I think it's a great announcement that they're moving. I think it was 318 jobs, dependent upon who takes them. I guess that'll be the final number as to who actually moves into Topeka. But I just think the idea that they've seen the advantage of being in Topeka, that they would relocate that office or those services here in Topeka. I think that speaks well for the environment and for the workforce available to them as well, because they're still always hiring, even though they're bringing in more staff. I think that just adds to our economy, and it adds directly to the city, the county, and the region as well. And it just attracts even more large suppliers like Walmart. We've enjoyed a very good relationship with them since they've been here. I've been to a number of events where they have sponsored community events, and they really try to be corporate citizens and give back to the community. And what I like about when I've gone to some of their employee appreciation events is the employees get a day way before all the officials and all the newspaper and every news media gets involved. They get their own day. They put them first more than anything. And I think that says a lot about a company. And that's the kind of company you want to keep in your community. So for them to continue to do that and show that appreciation for the workforce and here in Topeka, I think that's why they chose to move here. You know, people have always, not always, but a lot of times you hear the complaint about Topeka that we're not located in the right place. I'm thinking that people are beginning to look at it a very different way, that I think we might be in the perfect place right in the middle of the country when it comes to shipping and all of those other concerns, because we can go in any direction from the middle of this country rather than from one coast to the other coast, north and south, east and west. So I think we're in a good place, and I think that's what distribution centers are seeing about Topeka.
So here's another way to look at that. I have some friends that are in the Walmart distribution world, and what they tell me is, Richard, we have a lot of vendors that work with us. And where we put one of these big facilities, what we hope to see are other vendors that will come relocate close to us so that we can take their product. That cuts down on time, that cuts down on cost for the customer. So there's a lot of things that Walmart affects the economy on besides just building that building and employing people.
Mayor, can you speak more about the China visit? Is that the beginning of June, end of June? What all are you planning on showing off?
June 13th is
Okay.
the date that they will be here. The Greater Topeka Partnership is helping my office put together a tour of some of the highlights of the city and some of those businesses that would be of interest to the council as we continue our trade relationship with the country of China. And so those are the kinds of things that they're setting up. They haven't given me a specific list of locations what we're going to, but it'll be varied. They're going to set up a bus tour, so they'll be moved from one place to the other. It's an all-day event. I think we started at something like, well, not quite all day, about 10 in the morning till about 3 in the afternoon. So they're going to spend quite a bit of time with us. And like I said, we've got different manufacturers, financiers, contacts with the senator's office. State senators will be there. There'll be a real mix of people who have the opportunity to have a conversation with the council.
How important do you think it is for the city to branch out in this way?
Extremely important. We don't live on our own. We don't produce everything that we utilize in this community. We rely on other people and other cities, other countries, and that's just how the economy works. So whenever you can strengthen those relationships, almost get them personal, it works out better for when you're trying to attract more companies and business to the city of Topeka and Shawnee County. So it's extremely important to reach out. One thing that I've been working on too, and I haven't got any real detail yet, but I've been talking to another council, and their office is out of the city of Topeka, but they're considering moving to Topeka and moving their offices here. So those are the kinds of things that bring attention to us for what we do, not just for everybody in Shawnee County, but for the region. And I think that's important for us to consider, is that we have to have a regional concept of how we can impact this area in our city, not just the city of Topeka. It has to be a regional concept.
So I would also tell you that Topeka is an international city. Topeka is not just a regional city, not just a state capital, although that's very important. There's only 50 of them. But we're an international city. If you start looking at our industries and you start doing a deep dive, you'll see how they do business internationally. And that's exactly where we want to be. We want to be in that market along with regional and state markets and local markets, because that helps grow Topeka, that helps grow our products, that helps gets us out there around the world.
And we got the summer coming up. Are there any big plans for the city that the community should know about?
Oh, I don't know about any plans.
Now, I know this is gonna surprise you, but we've got road construction going on.
Yeah, there you go. Obstacle,
Going.
Well, it's
Good.
going pretty good. Just remember, be safe when you're navigating through those barricade barriers. And don't go the wrong way and don't bust through a barrier.
What do you think is the main road that Topekans are gonna be really excited about that's gonna be finished this
Topeka
summer?
Avenue, don't
I think Topeka Boulevard is
Boulevard?
really going to be something a lot of people, including me, would be glad to get the attention it needs.
And if you're down around City Hall, if you drive between here and City Hall, you'll see some other roads and bridges we're working on too.
Are there any big plans this summer, anything coming in, any acts, entertainment, anything like that that Topekans need to save their money for tickets or?
I know who I'm saving my money for is to go see Joe Bonamassa down at Topeka Performing Arts. That's who I'm going to go see. But there are a number of events that are going on, and we don't really usually get a lot of updates unless they come to the office and we're able to put them out. We don't, book any of those entertainment venues. I'm close to Topeka Performing Arts because we own that building. Plus, I really like Joe Bonamassa.
I'm still hoping that Liverpool makes it here.
Well, if there's no further questions, I thank you for your attention and for being here today. Have a good week.